from 1973 until now. And we managed to secure the deal with between Strata and Mingus Estate and all the rest of it. And yeah, we managed to get that out. So yeah, there's been a lot. There's you know, paraphrasing. But those are the highlights for people who
people to understand exactly a little bit of the history. And in that regard, now that we sort of like got a picture of the. Pardon me, I'm going to close the. I stopped a little bit of the noise. Now that we've gotten a picture of the history of BBE and the journey and the inception, I guess.
Yeah.
How did you? What would you say is a recipe that was sort of like your go-to recipe in order to maintain the company and push it to the level that it has managed to reach until now? Because there was a moment that, you know, things definitely.
Oh, look, this is life. You know, the first record came out in 1996, so next year's 25 years. It's ups and downs, and I would say probably the first real crisis period. Well, I mean, I've had a few. First one, so the first distribution company I mentioned, Mastercards. There was a bit of a crash round about maybe 2003, 2004. I would say two things happened. The first one was 9/11.
Yes.
9/11 was a game changer in as much as, you know, there was uncertainty. People didn't really know what was going on, or, a bit like this Corona. That was the closest period to that time. The will.i.am record actually came out, release date was 9/11. So no one cared. You know, the record just got lost in and amongst the chaos of everything that was going on. And I think maybe just around that time or just before was the beginning of LimeWire and Napster and that kind of stuff.
Casa and all these, yeah.
Yeah. So I think also just before LimeWire would have been around about that period anyway. So I just done the first record with Jazzy Jeff. And we done all the promos. I spent, a bigger chunk of money, independent label size, and it's well, I've never spent that money on anything else, I don't think. And we did the promo, and then we sent out the promo maybe whatever 4 months before release or whatever and stuff. And then someone said, "Oh, have you seen LimeWire or whatever stuff?" And you go on there, and then the whole album is on there. Yeah. And you're thinking, I won't give you a precise number, but just to say it was over $100,000 on this project. And then your heart just sinks when you just see that. And this is just before you've even manufactured anything. That's the kind of.
That's just production.
That's just the production of this record. And then you just see this record just being given out and handed out for free beforehand. And then you get the common rhetoric, oh, well, record companies are making money, blah, blah. We're not releasing Madonna. We're not releasing Michael Jackson. It's not that kind of affair. When you're a company, a 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, 5-man operation or whatever it is, you can't afford to spend any money, let alone that size of money, and see people just hand it out for free. Absolutely. You just don't make it back. It's one thing, that happened. Then there's 9/11. It's like people don't care. People weren't going out to clubs. People panicked. You can't promote an event properly because, people are worried about the safety and stuff. You can't then use that to interact, to do what you need to do. So that was one thing. The first distributor going out of business was a real kick in the teeth. That happened around about the same time. They went out of business owing me just over £100,000, and there was no recourse. Although someone told me a very interesting story about someone who got recourse, but I'll leave the names out of this conversation to protect the innocent. So there's the distribution going bankrupt is one thing. Technology change, not adapting quickly enough.
Yeah.
is one issue. And yeah, the digital revolution, you know, I think music fortunately reacted a bit quicker than say film or even publishing, you know, in that, you know, the what's it called, the iTunes probably was the first legal thing that people tend to make money from that side of things, and it was slow, but eventually, you know, it picked up and it got really well. I think unfortunately Apple got complacent. Then Spotify came in with the streaming, with the free accounts, all the rest of the stuff, and now Spotify is probably about 70% of the income, versus, you know, iTunes and the downloads, and never really moved on to WAV files or AIFF. You know, they stuck with that 3 to whatever it was, no 256. They didn't even go to 320. You know, the quality dropped. You know, as a kid, I'll get back to the person I mentioned about P&D deals, but they're still a thing. But we'll hit on that later on. You know, the people like quality. You know, the point where you going back to my youth, it was like I said about the turntable and hi-fi. You know, whether you know whatever equipment you're using back then, whether it was vintage stuff, whether it was quad or whatever you were using, torrents, turntables, this, that, and the other, or you know, buying your cassette players with your what was the one? Not the magnet, not the different tape qualities, the metal ones, and all the rest of the stuff. The quality was important, you know. And then I remember getting on a bus one day, and then people were listening to music on their phones, and that's also dynamic change, because when you record something really well, what's up, Dinus? When you record something really well, it goes through a big process. Listening on a phone and through the headphones is like an insult to the quality of what the work that people have done. If you know, some of the things we've done, say for example, I did a project with Dimitri from Paris, which was all the Philadelphia classics. Well, not all the Philadelphia classics, but it was based on the Philadelphia classics and a remix project. But got the parts from Kenny Gamble, and you know, remixing and listen to them. There's like 48 tracks. There's, you know, there's strings, there's vocals, there's, you know, all these instrumental stuff going on, and all that beautiful sound like an orchestra. And then you play it through this tiny little thing. It's like, it's an insult to the hard work that these people put into the making the records. So, you know, I think the quality issue hit the streaming industry bad. You know, I think just having really poor bit rates and stuff like that. Spotify are not great, but they're bit better than they probably, you know, could have been, and it should be better than what it is. People deserve better. You know, there's been music in high resolution for a long time, and then now the quality, not just the quality of the actual songwriting and stuff, but the recording of the sonics has gone downhill badly. And yeah, you consume quality, you consume like low quality hotels.
Yeah,
you know, you can't play that in a club and then it's to get the same feel.
Yeah, it's almost like now the trend is sound-wise has gone to, you know, the dirtier the better.
Yeah, and you know what? It's part of the I started this line of conversation with saying adapting to change is what's going to keep people surviving. You know, catching up with trends and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think there's always space for, you know, in terms of live shows. I think what's being really detrimental in the black music arena is the disappearance of bands. You know, not having big, you know, bands. If I ask people to name me bands, apart from right now Thundercat and, you know, a couple of people, you know, that people really know that are prominent, that's not the same level when you think back, you know, 15, 20 years ago to the Earth, Wind and Fires and the BT Express and Brass Construction or Sibisa and, you know, all these, like, you know, big quality bands out there. It's a completely different feeling than having some, you know, one person singing over a backing tape. It's not the same thing.
Now, talking about the current state of the industry and how much competition there is out there, whether it is to be taken seriously or not is not really the issue. But what do you think, or what would you advise to a young entrepreneur or young label owner starting, or even or who has started in the game, let's say in the past 3 or 4 years, and who's being hit by the situation that we're going through right now, given that, you know, BBE is going on to 25 plus years, you know, you've had those ups and downs. What would be a word of experience you could share as we go through these very, very, very challenging and trying times?
I think you've always got to keep learning. If you're making music, you've always got to keep your ears open for different techniques and understanding how to make a record. I think the basic thing is having a good mix on a record.
Okay.
You know, and explaining it to people that, you know, when you have the components of a song, and this is also just in point to someone who said about old recordings lacking quality. I just saw it flash on the post. Is that you can't, excuse my French, as I say here, you can't polish a turd. If you start with a bad source, it doesn't get any better from then.
Yeah.
You know, something I want to start doing with my one of my engineers is helping people, is create workshops to help people understand that how to where to position the vocals in the mix, where to position the drums in the mix, yeah, avoid distortion, avoid compression, you know, fundamental things that I think make a good record. People
sound,
create the sound, yeah. Whether you're going to go lo-fi or whatever. So people have done lo-fi things before. Sly Stone, you know, a lot of his recordings, you know, late 70s stuff was very lo-fi and stuff. You know, the kind of thing that D'Angelo copied, you know, in terms of some of the recordings. They almost sound a bit muddy and stuff, but you need to either find your sound, but understand how you want what your thing to be. You can hear George Benson play guitar and know it's George Benson.
Yeah.
You can hear, you know, Primo and know what his sound. You can hear Tito Puente and then know his sound. It's because you've got to find your personality and let that shine through in what you do. And don't try and just copy everything that everyone's doing.
So you'd say finding your sound and personality is definitely two of the main points. Then what would be on a business aspect of things, or should I even say, forget even about the business, but just on a personal level, how do you endure the psychological stress that represents the current situation in the music industry?
Well, I think now the angle is really about being savvy with your social media presence.
Okay.
It's you know, it becomes difficult when you're on the wrong side of 50 like me, and you've got to keep up with the stuff and figure out what's new. But you know, the people that succeeded the most are the people who evolved the most. You know, your Madonnas, your David Bowies, your Prince, Michael Jackson, people who evolved over time. And you see, they kept up with the times and they stayed relevant with what was going on, whether it's technology or image and stuff. They say the image stuff, some people might say it's a bit more superficial, but it's all part of the general thing in terms of being an artist. You've got to move with the times, technology and your image, and be able to communicate with people, you know, and some people are better at it than others. Yeah, but it's something that definitely, I mean, even if you look at the Motown model, and if anyone here has had a chance to go to Detroit, you have to go there because, you know, they had all the different departments, you know, the songwriting department, the etiquette department, you know, the people who would style and dress their artists and have them presented in a way that was,
I didn't know this.
They had all that stuff. They had all the people buried. They had all of that. And it was like basically copying it from General Motors, you know, the same thing as the car plant. And, you know, you have the bit that does the body, the bit that does the interior, the finish. And, you know, so it's like a finishing school. And only when you've done all those things and they felt you're ready, then they did a test with your record. And they have like an A&R meeting, sit down, listen to the album. This is what we're going to choose. This is what's going to be the lead single. And this is how we're going to present you to people.
But now, obviously, it doesn't work like that anymore. Now,
it does on a smaller scale. You've got to kind of still get your, you know,
Yeah,
how do you
eventually,
want to
yeah,
project
I
yourself?
agree. You still got to work on. But would you say, because I mean, so there's one school that goes about that philosophy, which I believe is a very valid philosophy. But I also see that there's another school of thought which is all about quantity, and obviously trying to maintain as much quality as it is possible to do when you about the quantity. But that school of thought is about releasing as much material as possible because of the extreme level of offer that there is on the market and the very limited amount of demand, because there's so much, people get overwhelmed and they get stuck on listening to usually more or less the same kind of things. How do you distinguish yourself? What are the strategies out there?
It's difficult, and we all make mistakes when it comes to that. I did what I call, the sort of pound shop mentality for a while, so overwhelm people with the volume of stuff, and eventually, if there's 10 releases every week and 6 of them are from BB, then chances are you might buy a BB release. It doesn't always work, because sometimes you don't get the time and energy to spend on everything appropriately. And I think part of the reset, as I'm calling it, with this Corona situation, will be that people may have to pick and choose and be very clever about the quantity rather than the quality rather than the quantity.
I understand.
And it depending on how much distancing we have to maintain with each other, not just in real life, but in terms of how we communicate with people and stuff, and get the message out. But it's definitely very difficult. It's easier for me to say that now with hindsight, and having over 500, releases. I know we're probably somewhere over 600 releases on the label in 25 years. And it's difficult to maintain.
It's difficult to maintain indeed. But I would have to say, so I have two more questions to ask you. I mean,
yeah, sure.
More topics. The maintaining aspect of things is very complicated. But what do you think is going to have to happen? Who's going to be defining the next vision for how this music industry is going to work? Is it someone like yourself and a couple of others who can actually come together and find ways and means to come about with a plan of action that will sort of like be maybe considering all these new technological sort of like breakthroughs, and as well as these new mentalities of approaching the concept of releasing music, marketing, etc., etc. What is going to happen according to you? Where do you think we're going if this isolation situation continues for the next, let's say, 3 months?
I think there will be collaborations. It's going to sound a bit too good to be true, but one of the most interesting things that happened to me in terms of that worked out really well as a marketing tool for BBE was a project that we put out several years ago called the Foreign Exchange, which was Fonte from Little Brother and Nicolay from he was in Holland or Belgium, Holland at the time. And this was the first time, this was the first time that an album, or that I'm, to my knowledge, or at least definitely on a marketing perspective, that we've done an album and sold it. It was the first, the producer had in Europe had never met the vocalist, and they exchanged music over the internet, and it was one of the first type things. Now we take that for granted because that happens all the time.
Yeah,
this was the big angle about that, and yeah, again, thanks for reminding my old mind. Connected was the name of the album. So I think we have that. So long as we have Wi-Fi and stuff, I think people will find a way, and people are very resourceful. They will find ways to do stuff. And well, it's gonna come from the youth. It's like there's always like young shoots, and this is what keeps life going on. The spring comes along. Trees grow flowers, grass, new shoots come up, and it's always going to come from the youth. The difficulty is people have been in the game is playing, being ahead of the curve or understanding what's going on in a dynamic way to understand what's going on and take stuff on. But if you kind of just remain as you are, then time passes you by.
Absolutely. So then the answer to this question literally, I mean, is clearly not in our hands, since we all have to kind of like, you know, move with almost no sights, you know, beyond what we're seeing right now. And it's going to be the youth bringing it, according to you, with the guidance of the elders.
Well, this is the thing that I think, you know, it's coming back to the start of the conversation. There's not going to be anything new under the sun.
Never.
Yeah, there's not going to be anything new. Anything that's going to happen has already been done before. It's just going to be done differently.
Yes, sir.
Now, the trick is how, you know, because if you listen to any or watch any films about the Cotton Club or any of those kind of places, you know, that kind of music, which you wouldn't think would be rebellious or anything, was considered rebellious devil music. People smoking to it and or whatever, sort of drinking and loose women and whatever else that was attached to it. And you know, those basic principles are not going to change, but it's going to move. It's going to, you know, it's going to keep molding. It's a living thing, you know.
So okay. So then, if I understand very well, the realm and that we are, I mean, this whole realm that we're entering into, we have no idea what it is. We don't know where it's going. We just know that we're going at it one step at a time, and it's going to take its own form. Basically, it's not going to be, because there's this belief that in the music industry, there's this reunion of big CEOs like yourself and some other guys who then say, okay, look, this is how it's going to be. I guess the whole game has changed.
No, I think there's a reset. So there's going to be like a basic, back to basics in a little bit, I think. That's my take on it. And the alternative to that, I think, is a conversation I had with a good friend that we had lunch with in town not so long ago, Dave Lee, Joey Negro. And he said, you know, he felt that part of the thing right now is that there's a bit of stagnation because, you know, there was acoustic, then electric, then samplers, you know, drum machines, programming, electronic stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there's not been another thing that's come along. You know, all the programs you buy do the same thing. If you get Logic, you can get 1 million programs for it, plugins and stuff, and do the same thing, or Pro Tools or whatever and stuff. Now, there might be, you know, like another phase that's yet to come, but we don't know what that is yet. So I can't sit here and say this is going to be the next way. You know, or like the internet, whatever, you know, we didn't know that was going to come and how that was going to kind of change the dynamics a little bit more. But this is where we are.
So in other words, I can tell that you're stirring something in your nice spot, but you're not disclosing that information.
Oh, no.
No, because no, it's okay. It's fine. You know, we must recipe secrets.
No. The stuff that's in the pot is really me and you, and
yes.
why we're here. And,
I would love to talk about that, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, we've been talking. Actually, I've just step 1 second, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. So it's like I said, it's about youth, and youth is going to lead the path. There's not going to be any disregard for the elders and what's come before, because, like I said, the stimulus for us all and the reason that we're here. So we're going to carry on with that.
Absolutely.
But fundamentally, what's happening with us is going to be, and here we are, just being exhibited by my lovely wife, is this.
Hey, my Batakari.
Yeah, for those who don't know, this is Batakari, which is a piece of attire which is from Africa, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a battle cloth. The Batakari is what we call it in Ghana. That one that I just showed you there is your personal one that I bought for you.
This is my personal
exactly, the personal one I bought for you. And it's about, you know, we're preparing ourselves for where we're going to next. And me and you talked about doing a label together and really pushing Africa. Now, like I said, I've done this deal with Tabanzi. I'm doing more deals with other people, doing a bunch of Africans music and stuff. And so we've got the old with BB Africa. No, I did not sew it myself, Mark. Thank you. No, Mark, I'm sorry. One of my oldest friends here, just saw him make a comment on the line just now. And yeah, we've got Tabanzi, we've got a few other bits and pieces which I'm not going to mention yet, which are coming, quality classic African stuff from the funk and boogie and disco. And now we're going with Batakari, which is where we've chosen, the two of us chose together as a label of the new Afro beats, Afro influence music, which we're doing together. So Batakari music, and our first single is out on the 8th of May. Available in all your streaming shops. Spotify, Deezer, Traxsource, iTunes, Apple Music. It'll be everywhere. And maybe you can tell us a bit more about how that first record came together.
Absolutely. First of all, well, before I even tell you about the record, I can tell you guys that, well, I've known Pete for as long as I've entered this industry. At least I've known the label for as long as I've entered this industry. So almost next year is going to be 20 years. And I remember it was a dream for me to even be able to speak to that man. And I remember receiving my first promo from BBE. It wasn't sent to me by BBE, but it was given to me by this guy called Peter Bonen in Belgium.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember him.
We used to be Oshun Lade's booking agent, as well as Kenny Dope. It was part of Clear Channel. Back in the days when Clear Channel was booking all these artists. And he gave me a couple of promos, including the Aquarian Moon album by Oshun Lade.
Yeah.
And Victor Duplay in the building.
Yeah, I just saw that. I was just about to comment.
Brother Victor in the building, legendary. And so when I received that album, it was a mind-blowing thing for me because it changed my entire life. And I am not even speaking about this lightly. Then, I've discovered so many more songs and releases on the label. So whenever we had the chance to actually cross paths, I believe the connection was somewhat instantaneous, and it took time to build that trust and confidence. Like any solid thing, it takes time to build. But once we got there, I've had the chance to count and really be blessed with the trust of my Oga. Oga, for those of you who don't know what it means, is my boss. He's my big brother. He's my elder. He's an inspiration and a mentor. And so for us to come together and put this label Batakari together is an honor. So the first release is titled Virgil Abloh. It's by Buddy, my good friend Buddy from Belgium. He's a rapper, songwriter, artist from Belgium via Democratic Republic of Congo, and yours truly, Bodhisattva. We called the song Virgil Abloh because we just wanted to honor, this brother who, though he's more American than he's African, as far as his mentality, some may say, but he still is part of the African soil, and we felt like he needed to be honored, and it just sounded really nice with the overall feeling of the track. So this song is the first single off. Kicking off things for us at Batakari Music. There's going to be many more. We are obviously taking this single off of the album that we've done together called Trouble Fête in French. And look, boss, I'm telling you now, this label is about to do some good moves.
Absolutely. We're ready. I mean, we're going to be taking Africa by storm, and the world, of course. I think the timing is perfect.
We're signing some new talents. There's some new talents that we're working on signing now out of Nigeria. Some really talented kids that are just hungry and giving us really quality music. If you know anybody that's into this kind of sounds, Afro beats, Afro pop, as long as it's quality, this is going to be the house for that. This is going to be the room for that. And,
absolutely. You can send your demos through to us through Instagram at Batakari Music. And we'll be putting in details, and we'll be also, one thing we're going to do is a challenge for videos too as well, for people to post their videos or them dancing to Virgil Abloh. You just have to add the hashtag Virgil Abloh dance, and then send it to us.
Exactly. It's looking like it's exciting. There's a lot of good feedback about the song. It's very fresh. It's pop, but it still has some edge to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is about. Because I mean, we could have said, okay, we stick to BB, but I think BB being such a staple and releasing already a certain type of sounds, it just felt right for this new journey to have its own home.
Yeah.
And so teaming up together was
still
timely.
going through the same channels, still your same friendly people. So
same family,
that bit doesn't change, but it's new, but it's the same.
Yeah, I believe if God's willing, as we say, BB shall. Well, I shall prophesy, if I may take if I may dare to take that route, that BB shall become, as a structure, the next independent version of Universal Music. This is my.
That's a tall ask, but we'll do our best.
It's fine, but we're gonna work there. We're gonna work towards that. That's the whole vision, and I think that because of the mind and the people behind the label, you as the leader of this company, who has definitely graced a lot of people's life with the music you've released, the quality of content, I think it's only but making sense, and it would actually only be right for it to be the case, because you are looking out for the interest of the artist first, and I think that this is speaking volume.
Thank you very much, sir. But we're going to do it together, and that's the beauty of it. I'm really looking forward to this journey, the new chapter. But yeah, shout out to Shinlade too as well. I think it was a big connection between the two.
It was.
And again, another first of getting him to London to DJ and stuff, and help push him to the world. It's just been a really fortunate journey, regardless of the ups and downs. But it's just having the heart and the lack, the fight within.
Absolutely.
And you just got to keep going. And there's lots of knockdowns, but there's some good friends who've been part of the journey for a while, and happy to ride with everyone.
Absolutely, boss.
Hashtag Batakari Music.
Hashtag Batakari Music. Hashtag Virgil Abloh. The single is coming out 8th of May on all your favorite digital platforms. Many, many, many blessings, my Oga.
Charlie, Chairman, the Vice President of Afrobeat.
The Vice President. I shall greet my President accordingly as the Vice President. Please, I beg, huh?
Don't mention it. your Rolex is in the post.
Boss, God bless. And
thank you very much,
sir. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure as always.
We shall do that again, maybe when we have the release out.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a video premiere. I forgot the details, but we'll update you. Just keep checking the cover got posted today. The video teaser should be live on all the platforms on a week tomorrow on the 24th, and then there'll be more stuff coming. So we're just waiting for a partner with the video premiere, and then we'll be able to confirm as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Okay, Oga.
Perfect.
Blessings.
Enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Love you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Blessings.
Bye-bye.